I'm an Equestrian s'associe à Equestrian, une application qui propose une nouvelle manière de soutenir et d'accompagner les projets équestres. Être passionné d'équitation, c'est vibrer devant un parcours sans faute, espérer une grande victoire, rêver d'accompagner un cheval vers le plus haut niveau. Mais c'est aussi être confronté à une réalité. Investir dans un cheval de sport reste souvent un privilège réservé à quelques-uns. C'est précisément cette barrière qu'Equestrian souhaite lever. Avec un modèle d'investissement accessible dès 50 €, la plateforme permet à chacun de devenir un acteur du projet sportif d'un cavalier, sans pour autant engager des sommes considérables. Derrière chaque grand couple cheval-cavalier, il y a des propriétaires, des investisseurs, des passionnés qui ont cru en eux. Et aujourd'hui, grâce à Equestrian, cet engagement peut aussi être le vôtre. Imaginez, des centaines, voire des milliers de passionnés réunis pour accompagner un athlète dans son rêve. Une nouvelle manière de faire grandir notre sport, de favoriser l'égalité des chances et de rapprocher les amateurs du plus haut niveau. Vous pouvez encore vous plonger dans les coulisses de cette initiative en écoutant notre épisode hors série avec son fondateur, Franck Deschenaux, et suivre equidil.io sur Instagram pour ne rien manquer.
Le cheval plaît beaucoup, C'est un vecteur de communication extraordinaire.
Avant d'être un cavalier, c'était important d'être un horseman.
Always put the horse before the personal ambitions.
Vraiment un cheval incroyable.
Voilà quelqu'un qui est champion olympique et qui n'est pas ordinaire.
Se remettre en question et peut se servir des défaites pour être meilleur après.
Ce feeling, je l'ai eu directement avec Caleb.
On fait du haut niveau, il y a le côté financier, c'est comme ça.
Aller en compétition parce qu'il est bon, pas parce qu'il paye une table.
Moi, je veux pas courir mes chevaux pour l'argent.
If you can do it in a way that doesn't take too much out of your horses.
Quand on voit l'évolution en 10 ans de temps, qu'est-ce que ça va être dans 10 ans ?
Pouvoir motiver les jeunes à aller au bout de leurs rêves.
Forme de très très bons compétiteurs, je ne vais pas dire que ça forme des hommes de chevaux.
Pour moi, les bons moments, ils sont à venir.
Aujourd'hui, réussir sa vie, c'est avoir la vie que l'on souhaite.
In January, we went back to Wellington for a week and got the opportunity to meet with Henrik von Eckermann for the third time. We wanted to catch up and ask Henrik so many questions about his breathtaking yet bittersweet last season. Breaking the world record and holding the number one spot for 31 consecutive months is nothing short of sensational. Looking back on 2024, we wondered how can such an accomplished and goal-oriented athlete deal with success, pressure, but also with setbacks that inevitably occur along the journey. The road of an athlete is, we already knew it, made of very highs and deep lows, and we asked Henrik to comment on this journey. This conversation wouldn't have been possible without the support of Dada Sport. As one of their riders, Henrik embodies the brand's values, dedication, passion, and an unwavering connection to the horse. But Dada is more than just clothing, it's a community, a mindset, a commitment to the sport and the values that unite us. Thank you, Dada, for making this moment happen and allowing us to dive deeper into what it truly means to be a horseman and a top-level athlete. Hello, Henrik. We are very glad to see you again in Wellington. This is the first time actually we meet in Wellington. We have already recorded 2 episodes with you in Geneva. The first one was like the regular episode we do in the podcast to talk about your journey, your life, your story, and I think it was the first month or so that you were world number one. And we saw you, we met you the year the year after in Geneva. You were still first in the ranking, and we asked you if we would meet again in Geneva while you would still be number one, and you said, "Oh, I really doubt it. I don't think I can still be number one in this time frame," but you are. Today you have broken the world record. You're still world number one. It's amazing. You have had an amazing season, and for the first time you settled in Florida for the whole season. So we are going to talk about a bit of your season, 2024 season, but also the new moves that you have here in Florida, and then the next challenges you're going to to have. But first of all, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Yeah.
Nice to have you here in Florida.
How is the season going so far?
So far, it have been a good start. I did the first show of the season was in Basel at home still, in the hometown of my owner Georg Kenny, and it was very nice that his horse Iliana could win the Grand Prix in Basel. So that was a very nice start. And now we moved to Wellington. And the owner, Robin Parsky, who made this possible for me to be here in Wellington, her horse Glamour Girl have been winning 3 of her 3 classes. So it's been a good start.
So can we talk about this season in Wellington, in WEF? It is a very special circuit that runs from 12 weeks in the same place with almost daily competitions. How does this format differ from what you know in Europe? It is more comfortable for us, for you, for your family. What are the strengths and weaknesses of each system for you?
Oh, so many things. First of all, I'm pre-qualified for the World Cup final, so that made it also I don't need to chase any points because the World Cup season is something I really enjoy and I really like to do the final. So I don't need to have that on my back. But to be honest, this year suited in many ways Wellington. First of all, Robin Parsky invited me here, and without her this would not be possible for me. But as this invitation came along, I really thought it was a great idea for my horses as well, because it's a little bit of a shift now in the horses I have. King Edward, he's getting older, and then I have a few other ones, but I have a few younger horses that I need to develop, who needs a bit of mileage, and not really ready to be really competitive in the circuit of the World Cup season at home. So I thought it would be a great opportunity here. And these rings are very big, and it's a little bit easier than for a younger horse because the atmosphere is not as heavy as in the indoor season. So I think they could grow here in a very nice way. And there was a few things that, and of course Robin have her horses, so the owners want to see their horses, and it's always a bit of a puzzle. You try to, of course, number one is to see what will fit the horse best, the program for the horse. Then of course I'm trying to also make sure that the owners have their, to see the horses in this way. It was very good. I could be in Basel and Georg could see his horses there, and then I went over here and I with Robin, and at the same time also, the horses I have here, like Glamour Girl, for example, also. She also got a little bit older, and I know exactly her rings, what she likes, and she likes these big rings where I can canter a lot and not these small rings. So that came also in favor. And then I have Minuteman, who is a quite new horse for me, who I also want to learn to know a little bit better, what is also a little bit easier here for me than in the World Cup season. And then Steely Dan, what is just turned 9 years old, he also. And then I made a last minute change after Geneva with King Edward. After I was feeling that I wanted to end the indoor season, and I had the possibility here to go to Wellington and the big rings, and so I choose to take him also along, and I think that's it feels like a good choice, even if of course I would have liked to try to win a third World Cup final with him, but sometimes you have to, you feel. I always went for my gut feeling and how the horses feel and how the plan should be, and it just told me that I have this possibility and this will be the better route for him to go. And so I hope I'm right in the end, but as it is for the moment, I feel that this was really a right decision.
From what we can see when wandering around here on the showground, it's way slower than in Europe. Quieter also. We can see that it takes a little bit more time for the classes to set up, but also the rounds and everything. The whole atmosphere is a little bit lower, we believe. And do you feel that with your horses? It feels like everyone has more time to make the most of the show, but also to enjoy, to be home at 5. The show is completed and the show is finished, and then you can enjoy. Is this something that you can feel?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, now when we compare the season at home, what is the World Cup circuit? We have late classes most of the time. There are long days, and that's the difference here. We start a little bit earlier, but we also finished. I mean, at 2:00 is normally finished, except the Grand Prix day, what is in the night, but it starts at 7 and not at 9 or 10. So it's still, and that's the night where it also is a very good atmosphere. It's full of people, and but the other, like you say, it's very quiet. And that was for me with a younger horse who want to step up a little bit. I felt this was a good opportunity for me to do it in this way.
The American approach seems to be very much focused on business and sponsorship, whereas in Europe the emphasis is more on sport. Did you get inspired by the way they work, by the methods you can discover here? The top-level riders would have clients to train and give a lot of importance to the clients. Is this something that you are looking at? You are trying to get inspired to shape also the business you have in Europe?
I'm always curious to watch new things and how other people are doing. I try to learn every day something new and try to figure out what is the best way. There are a few things here that I really like also, what I see and what is different. And like you say, it's a different approach than Europe, I think. But I'm lucky I can have both.
When we met last time in Geneva, you were number one. You've been number one for 1 year or so, and you didn't believe you could stay world number one. We know that becoming world number one, it's a long race, a hard race, but staying for over 31 months in a row, world number one is very hard. After reaching the first spot, did you really work on trying to break this record, or was this something that just happened because of the work you've done and because with luck and work and performance?
For sure, you need a bit of luck, but I would also say it's for sure work. But it's not that I've been focused. I mean, I wanted to be number one. That was something when that day came. It felt like, okay, I achieved that. I for sure didn't think of I'm going to try to be for 30 months number one. It was just at that time everything came together with my horses. The group of horses came up to an age and a time in their career where they were all ready to go to the shows and try to win. And of course King Edward was always the number one, but I should not forget the horses around him that also been winning very much. For example, Glamour Girl, how many classes she won, or Iliana, or there's so many things that makes it happen, and I was fortunate to have this group of horses that came together in the right moment, and I've been fortunate also that they stayed healthy and I could make a good program for them. I mean, that's also a little bit on my side. As I'm number one, I can choose the shows I want to do. So I always try to just choose for what I believe fits my horses. And I've found a good way so far. been good enough to also succeed on the shows I picked.
I imagine that as world number one, the pressure is constant. How do you deal with that pressure on daily basis? 2024 has been a year full of successes, but there have also been more difficult moments. Can you look back on those moments with us?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't see the number one as a pressure, really.
Okay.
I put pressure on me every day to become better and just focus on my horses. And the pressure for me is to always to look to find the right plan, for every horse. Is this the right class? Is this the right plan? Is this the right show? Is this amount of shows correct? Am I doing too little? Am I doing one too many? This is my pressure, to always make sure. I want to have the feeling that every class counts and not make a mistake that go to a show where was not the right timing, or the horse was not in the right shape, or to make sure that every day count and every show count. And that is what I try to do. And now if I'm 30 months or 32, or it will come to an end. I mean, everything comes to an end, and I think it will be soon, because if you look back to last year, I will have the World Cup final coming where I won everything. I don't think that will happen again, so I will lose a lot. But anyway, I try to just enjoy the time and with my horses, and I know times will change. I have fantastic group of horses. Everything is there. The horses are sound. I try to just enjoy it, every day, and what comes. And like you said, looking back, and of course Paris, the Olympics was the blowback of the year. But I have to say, even if that day was not great and that was not a nice feeling, I overcome it well, and I put it behind me, and I have many goals in front of me, and then I just try to focus on that, and really to put the things I can't change, just put them in the back mirror and look forward. That's what I try to focus on.
Yeah, talking about Paris, the 2024 season exceeded all expectations. You stayed number one, you had such a wonderful season, and yet Paris was the setback you didn't expect. How did you manage to handle everything, to process also what happened, to, like you said, put it back in the mirror and just kept going?
Because I have wonderful people around me.
Yeah.
I have a great team, I have a great owners, especially my wife, my child, even if we can't speak so much yet, really, but just the feeling he gives, that is, it's always the same, winning is easy. Everyone is happy and everything is going easy, but the setbacks is where you really, first of all, know who's your friend.
Yeah.
Who sticks to you, and the people I have, they really showed that they stick to me also in not great times. And like I just said, with the owners, they, even if it was setbacks, they were just positive and said, this happens and this is sport, and we believe in you, and we go from there. So this is something that means very much to me. That's gives me strength and also the confidence to not get a little bit hesitated and start to think too much, and just put it behind and make sure to look for things that was wrong and what was not good, and to change and make sure it doesn't happen again. And when that is done, then the book is closed, and we go on.
The day after Paris, Yannicka posted something on the internet saying, "I couldn't be prouder of you than today." isn't it also something that makes the greatest athletes ever? The ability, the capacity of being able to be resilient, of being able to process failures and not just give up. And even at the Olympics, even with the worst scenario we could have expected, being able also to bounce back and to keep moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially I would say in our sport, we lose so many times and win so few. Even if you're number one, I lose so much more than I win. So we got used to it maybe through the years. But it's for sure important to be able to put it behind you and look forward.
Can we talk a minute about King Edwards? How he's doing? You've built a unique relationship with him, as everybody knows. You say that he's getting older.
He's actually really well. I think he enjoys also here
the sun.
Yeah, he stands in his paddock outside and just sunning himself. So he's really well, and he feels great. And I mean, if people follow, they saw there was a few problems in the jump-offs I did with him, but if you put that aside, he's been jumping better than ever. Like in Geneva, the Grand Prix, I think there was one of my best rounds I ever had with him. He jumped from first fence to the last, amazing. And then, of course, when you have a jump-off like that, it's forgotten, but I don't, I see the positive in it, and I see what amazing shape in. There are a few mishaps that I have to fix and work on, and but he is in a great shape. So that's also something, I have to believe in this, and I know also it will come again to something very good. And just look forward and see what's next.
So where do you see yourself in now 5 years' time, or 3 year time, maybe, if you watch the time and the date? Are you still looking forward to competing at the Olympics in Los Angeles? Do you have the horses that might be ready in time for the next Olympic?
For sure, I would like to be in Los Angeles. There's no doubt. If they have the horses, that we have to see. For sure not King Edward. But I have a few interesting horses, and we have to see how that develop. I don't like to look too far in the future, because we are dealing with animals and horses. So I like to take it step by step and not to make too many clouds or fantasies. Instead, just work on, and of course in the long run this is something I want to do, but it's a lot of time to that, and I'm looking forward now with a few younger horses that I'm really trying to build up, and so I can still stay in the top for a few more years.
I think that I have one last question, Henrik. We have looked back over the past year and of the Olympics Games in Paris, and I wanted to know if you could say a few words to the 18-year-old Henrik von Eckermann. What advice would you give him?
Don't give up when it's hard, and that's what you say when the Olympics. I remember when I came home, from that day in Paris, and I saw my son again, and I was only thinking, you have to keep on pushing, because that's what I will always say him, Failing is not a problem, but you have to pick yourself up and out again, and I was thinking, this is what I want to give my son, so I have to also be a role model to him, so one day I can say, you know what, I fell off in the Olympics, but I picked myself up and went on again.
And go on, and you break all the records.
So
that's a good point.
Thank you so much, Henrik, for the time. We wish you a wonderful season. Make the most of your time here in the sun, because the weather in Europe is not so well. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for coming.